Greetings. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write for Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering that was all about the quiverful evangelical movement and beyond. I wrote about all problematic Christianity in the United States, all the different high demand religious organizations that were in that little realm of evangelicalism. Okay, do the YouTubey things. Hit like, subscribe, click the bell notifications. These are just my opinions. Please don't bully anybody I'm talking about today. Hey, Nitwit. Hey, Shauna. Janet. Dances in the Rain. Hey, everybody. It has been quite the 24 hours. I really meant to come on last night, but we spent the better part of a day yesterday running around Liberia trying to get things done. Only here for a few. Okay, Christoph fan, I'll catch you up on replay later. And somebody is asking to be petted at the exact same time. Okay, we had a crazy busy day yesterday, and it was probably a good thing because after I heard that Queen Elizabeth died, I was kind of sitting with my feelings for the entire day yesterday, just sitting with my feelings. And if I could get Porky to move her butt, I'd show you what all I was doing yesterday. One of the things that I was doing was shopping. Shopping is always a good therapy if you are having a time where you're feeling kind of weird for whatever. We're getting ready to have Independence Day here in Costa Rica, so I got crazy stuff. I got a nice lantern. This stuff is real cheap. I got flags. This is the first year I felt like celebrating this, but it is, and it kind of goes along with the theme. I got a ton of like kerchiefs because that's what they apparently will wave those around. And I got yarn. I got yarn galore. Okay, shopping. Yeah. And when it's successful shopping, especially here, it feels like you've won something. Like, for one thing, this lipstick I'm wearing, I bought it in the States and I loved it. Guess what? I found it here yesterday and I bought 2 tubes of it. It was quite costly, but it doesn't matter. Being able to get the things you want where you are is important. So I was thinking about that yesterday because we're coming up on Costa Rican Independence Day. Costa Rica declared their independence from Spain. And actually what it was Spain couldn't afford to upkeep Central America anymore. So they pretty much just spun off all the countries. They had gotten into a large battle with France and Napoleon. So they couldn't afford it anymore. They spun off the countries here. That's how Costa Rica got their independence, was because Spain could no longer afford to pay for exploration here and upkeep and all that. However it happened, I'm glad. So that's the history geek moment of me. The reason I wanted to history geek out is because I'm about to really history geek out with the Queen Elizabeth passing. So being shopping and being away allowed me to think about that. And at the same time, there's crap going on in the community and the what I call the pitchfork community, anti-Katie Joy one. Julie Virgo and AZ have joined the dark side of the side of the people who are just going after people. That's one of the things in this community that I don't like, that I've never liked, that I've always had a problem with. We should live and let live. If you have creators you don't like, just don't watch them. Don't waste brain cells on thinking about them or chasing them around and saying nasty things about them, because it's a fool's game. It's exactly what our dear Catherine does. So I've knocked heads with Julie a couple of times myself. She came after me for not wearing a bra very frequently in my videos and my boobs hanging to my waist. And hey, I'm 62. I breastfed all my children and I've had breast cancer. So I'm just happy to have boobs. I don't care if they go down to my waist or whatever. She saw the error of her ways and apologized, and I accepted her apology. But here's the thing. We really don't need to be running around saying anything nasty about anybody in the community and fighting and infighting and all this. So I'm just going to come out and say I'm standing with Erin on this. Erin got attacked the other night by the Holy Spackle, and then Julie Virgo, and I'm sure Az and the whole bunch will come after her. And it's kind of sad because we were all kind of unified behind Az when Roadhog went after her. Roadhog has reappeared. Now, what that means, I don't know. I don't know either way what that actually means. We still haven't had a real explanation and or an apology for the fake baby thing. So I don't quite know what to think. I don't want to write him off totally, but at the same time, I don't really want to entertain that either. It's kind of like what I just said about creators you don't like. You don't waste any brain cells on them. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put him in that space along with Julie and Az and everybody else, and I'm just going to keep on keeping on. I like Erin. Now, Erin, I've knocked heads one time in the past, and it happens. You're going to knock heads. But here's the thing, if you're an adult about it and you're able to say, hey, I don't like this about you, this drives me crazy. I try not to pay too much attention too much when creators are going back and forth. I like most of them. I don't consider Roadhog a creator. Christoph Ann, that's probably the smartest thing to do. Like I said, people I don't like, I don't watch. I mean, it's as simple as that. And I don't worry about chasing them around the internet and call them names. So this is me saying all this crap doesn't matter a hill of beans. But I stand with Erin in this. Hey, Tola. So that's where I am. And that kind of leads back into history and Queen Elizabeth. Now, while I had the big feels for Queen Elizabeth, but creators like KJ, we do need to warn people about her because she hurt so many. Shauna, I shouldn't even have to say it, and you're saying it so good. That kind of doesn't go for KJ. She's in a whole separate class altogether. I just watched Chris Hansen. Now, Chris Hansen is the guy with the most sterling reputation after To Catch a Predator, but he is still out there exposing BS, okay? Exposing BS. And he's taking his lumps. But the thing that he is doing right now is he's talking about a lady from Utah who has scammed her way through various communities and is a cancer scammer. I thought he was going after iJessie. No, not iJessie. What am I saying? Jessie with the red hair, because she was making all kinds of things, but I don't know. I kind of wish he would go after KJ. I mean, I've tried to contact him and say, hey, you need to look at Catherine Joy Paulson as far as scammers, because lately we've seen some really crazy stuff. The other night, Molly Golightly said that KJ had 14 different restraining orders against her. Now, I don't doubt they're restraining orders. I don't doubt that one bit. I don't know if it's as many as 14 and what the status of all of them is. Yeah, I hope that he comes out with that stuff. It would be awesome. You're right. What it means is that those people don't actually care about any of this stuff. They pretend to. They just like drama. I mean, look at their histories. Exactly. See, JB, exactly. But I felt like today I had to say something. After yesterday seeing everybody fighting, the day before everybody fighting, and I'm kind of like, huh? Shauna is Charlotte's cellmate. Does Andrea's ex-husband really have one against you? I don't know. If he does, it would be a TRO, and whether or not he can prove possible harm enough to get a permanent restraining order, who knows? That's difficult. It's not difficult here. It's actually pretty easy. Just walk into the police station and say, hey, this person has threatened me, and you can get one that's a RO that is linked with a database of people coming and going from Costa Rica. So it's not that hard here, but I don't know what it's like in the States. In different states, it varies. Hey, nobody. And it's just very different. Who knows? So Molly said that I don't know how true it is. I don't know where she got her info because I know Molly likes to just jump on things and doesn't always research it fully until later. Then I wonder where all those funds went she supposedly collected for him. I don't know. That's a good question. Said who? Good morning, all. Good morning to you too. So the community is a mess. It's a hot mess. But like I said, I think the best we can do is just watch the creators you like, don't watch the ones you don't like, and just kind of avoid the drama, because the drama, if you get drug in, it can really turn into like a nuclear war where you don't even care that you were once a friend of this person. You just want to annihilate them in the worst way possible. And that's not cool. I've never approved of that. So I'm just going to keep doing like I'm doing. I'm going to ignore everybody and just hang out with the people that I like, watch the people I like, unwatch the ones I don't like. Um, a good example of that was I had subscribed to Just Doom and the aftermath of his problems with Roadhog. I don't subscribe to him. It's just too messy for me. I'm not one that cares for all the shouting and accusations. So that's all. Okay, so Queen Elizabeth died yesterday, and I'm glad that I didn't come on here right away because I'm sad she passed. She was a member of the greatest generation, like my mother-in-law and my father-in-law were, and they were awesome people who had lived through the horrors of the Depression, the Great Depression, followed by World War II. It was a time that was so awful that it called out the best in everybody. I'm a big believer in that. Sometimes very hard circumstances pulls the best out of us, things that we didn't even know we had there. And I always think that too when we get a new president that I don't love. I think that I just need to pray maybe the circumstances of him being president will pull out the best of him and make him behave in a presidential manner. And I mean across the board. I'm not picking on any one former president or current president. I always pray that for them. It's like, may the circumstances of this very hard office bring out the best in them. So she's passed. And while I'm not crazy about the whole idea of kings and queens, particularly if you look back at how the royal family earned their money and some of the things they were involved in, I'm going to talk about that, Shauna, in just a second. I'm not crazy about how they earn their money. There's a lot of exploitation and pain behind some of that money. And I understand that. I mean, that is kind of worldwide. Somebody was fussing in comments about the exploitation of the native children in the schools in Canada, and which is awful. But that same thing happened to the States too. And I'm not sure we can blame that directly on the Queen or her family. I know that Queen Victoria herself stayed out of the Civil War, even though both sides tried to get her to enter. And she had apparently said that the cotton mills would stay empty before she would get involved in it. So while I liked Queen Elizabeth II, Queen Victoria, I and don't like a lot about the royalty and monarchy. I think she was a decent person who exemplified dignity and non-drama. I'm just going to say that she would be a good model. But at the same time, here we got Charles coming in, her son. Charles has not exactly comported himself as the best of role models. I'm just going to throw that out there. He, everybody knows about the Princess Diana and his divorce. And I think anytime you have a divorce, you usually have two people that have fault on both sides. And I'm just going to throw that out there for that too, because I think there's probably fault to go around on both sides. We know she tried to say it was all him. He tried to say it was all her. The reality is probably somewhere in the middle. So he's married Camilla, who he should have married back in 1972 when he met her. He shouldn't have had to marry Diana. That was a mistake. He should not have done that. But he did because of the rules of the royal family and who the future king of England could marry. And I think those rules have been relaxed a lot. But then he had to marry a virgin who was a Protestant, who was not a commoner. And we saw how badly that worked out for everybody. There's some things about Charles I really like. I'm gonna say that too. Why do I keep saying throw that out there? His ideas about organic gardening and sustainability are outstanding, and they're what we need. Even though everybody laughed at Charles when he first started gardening and coming out with these things and saying, "Oh, it's just crazy Charlie talking, talking, talking." But history has borne out the fact that a lot of his ideas actually were forward thinking as can be. Sorry if I offend anyone, but I cannot stand Harry and Meghan. Yet, I don't think many of us can. Um, Harry's not too smart, and he is married to someone who seems to have some stuff going on. I'm just going to say that. So Charles was ahead of that. And also, if you ever have time, look up Poundsbury. It was a village that Charles came up with, a sustainability living village that was his idea and his project, and it has worked out marvelously. I think he has some very, very forward ideas. I do appreciate Charles's dedication to organics. Yes, so do I. And I think as king, he's going to carry that forward thinking forward. But at the same time, this is a man who has proven himself to be petty in many ways and to be whiny, to be petty and whiny. So here's another circumstance where I am going to pray that the office brings out the best in him. I hope so. And just hearing that the things that he supposedly said about Meghan and Harry's child, it just scares me. I mean, is he really that racist? I pray not, because by being the king, he is the head of places where people aren't lily white, like Brixton, the neighborhood in London, which may have changed by now, but the last time I was there, it was primarily poor Black people. The Bahamas, so many different places where there's influence, where he is going to be the head of people that don't look like him at all. If you ever watch Two Fat Ladies, they went to his organic farm and showed some stuff. It was cool. I saw that. I thought that was excellent. That was an awesome thing. So I'm going to say the same thing I said at No Longer Quivering when Trump became president, which was, let's all not freak out yet. Let's see what he does. If he does good things, then that'll be good. Maybe he will step up to the plate and be the most awesome ruler we've ever seen. And I wish that for all rulers, be they Trump, Biden, anybody. Hey, T. King. I don't know, Shauna, but his actions will prove whether she's lying or she's right on the money. We'll see what happens with him. I can believe it because I know that through history, there have been times when the royal family has been quite racist. And they're descended from the Hanovers, Hanovers, how we pronounce it when I lived in Germany. But that whole royal family came out of Germany. And there were a lot of little weird royal families throughout Germany, these different kingdoms. One of the places that I remember going was seeing the castles right in the region of Hessen where we lived, where the royal family, the family of Windsor, directly came from. So it's pretty interesting to me. And I've always been fascinated by the royal family, and I love to read about history. I am hoping that King Charles III lives up to some of the good things about King Charles II, not King Charles I, who who was seized and beheaded. King Charles I and the Roundheads, the people who were being promoted by Oliver Cromwell and that whole thing in religion. They were fighting over whether England would be Catholic or would it be Puritan. So I'm hoping that he has the right King Charles to emulate and not the wrong one, not the wishy-washy one that kept hitting the country with taxes until everybody rebelled against him. And I just finished reading a book about King Charles I, and he seemed like he was not up to the job. What that means for King Charles III, I don't know, but there's some things I would like to see him do. I would like to see him apologize for the fact that the royal family has had their hand in slavery in some places and they've made money off of it. This may be way, way back, but I would like to see him embrace the history and say, hey, this and this and this weren't right. You have my deepest sorrow in these things. And as a country, we're going to try to move forward from these things. I would like to see him promote those different agendas that lead to everything in the Commonwealth moving forward, because seeing other leaders succeed in countries that the U.S. is so intrinsically linked with is positive. If they bring their people up another level, what can we do but bring our people, our citizens up, our residents, our legal aliens even? I try to remember that all we hear about the royals has been filtered through personal perspective of others. And in the case of the media, the more they can hype negativity, the more dollars they make. That is a very important part, because you have to think of the British tabloid press, which is very different than the U.S. tabloid press. The U.S. tabloid press here is doing things like writing articles about Bat Boy and things like that, or gossiping about Hollywood celebrities. In the UK, it is like tabloids on speed. They say and do all sorts of crazy things. And it used to be the royal family was off limits. They were always off limits until Princess Diana, who courted the tabloid press. I don't love the royal family. I can understand that you're an Aussie. And it's a good thing that Australia has their independence now. Personally, I think that Charles is going to have to give up independence now. Personally, I think that Charles is going to have to give up ruling over much of the Commonwealth and maybe keep England, Scotland, and Ireland and spin off everywhere else. I've talked to a lot of my Canadian friends who are livid, who want to see an end to any type of relationship with the royal family. I could understand that. I mean, so we're at a time of great flux. Queen Elizabeth sat on the throne, Queen Elizabeth II, longer than any other monarch. I mean, a continual peace and prosperity for the most part, even though back in the 70s, there were minor strikes and there were strikes where they had shortened work weeks and things. Yes, I'm hoping we go Republic now. I hope so too. I hope so too. It needs to happen. And I think Charles is going to have to come to that realization, and he's going to have to free some places. If he doesn't, I think it's not going to go well at all. But at the same time, as I admire his organic gardening, I admire his sustainable living ideas. And the Princess Trust, he had his own organization there where he did a lot of good with it. And it was focused on helping kids coming out of these very impoverished places. So he's not all bad. So there are some things there. So the next days are going to be fascinating. The next year, probably, to see what happens with him. You could go just about any way with Prince Charles. Who knows at this point? I looked it up last night. Elizabeth II of the throne when Truman was president. I saw that too. I saw that. And like I said, even though there were some periods of instability and problems in Britain with poverty, for a long stretch of her reign, there was peace and prosperity for many long stretches. He may surprise us all, Shauna. That's what I'm thinking. He may surprise us all. And I'm not offended by Camilla ascending to be queen. He should have married her back when he met her in 71 or 72 instead of marrying Diana. He and the nation would have been a lot better had he just followed his heart. If he could have followed his heart, let me say that. That's the only thing that's one thing that everything I've read about the royal family, you get the couriers, the ones that are behind the scenes running everything. I think Diana called them the palace mafia. Those people need to go. He needs to downscale the monarchy tremendously. How many minor royals are there that are drawing money off this thing? It seems almost like a Ponzi scheme to support one family, as far as I'm concerned. I can't forget the early years when Queen Elizabeth II and Philip went to Canada and visited children in an orphanage and went out with the Queen for a picnic, and none of the children returned. Oh my gosh. I did not know that. That is crazy. I'm going to have to do some research and talk about that because you know me, I'm fascinated with history. So that is a bad history. I hope it means those children were all adopted, but who knows at this rate. So I'm going to have to take a look at that. My biggest memories of the Queen and where I lived was when she came and visited new housing that was put in the slums of DC, and they renamed the place Queen's Place. One of the older Black ladies, and I love older Black ladies. They're the most awesome people on the planet. Many times they're the ones that are faithful, they're hardworking, they're loving and forgiving, the ones that I've known. Anyway, the lady, she was at the house. She was showing the Queen her fried chicken. She was hugging her. She was treating Queen Elizabeth as if she were a beloved friend. And that always impressed me, that instead of pulling away and going, oh, or whatever, Queen Elizabeth just went with it. We believe they were killed at that time. Oh, that would be terrible. Oh, oh my goodness. Can you shoot me some links in my email box or Twitter, wherever? Because that's a story that needs to be shouted out. It really does. If there's any truth to that whatsoever, it is true. I followed the royals for many years. That's worse than the worst gaffes of Prince Philip, and Lord knows that man made a pile of them. He was a gaff machine. He was kind of like a cranky Joe Biden in many ways. Good morning, everyone. Hey, Ginger Lee. Prince Andrew is another shady royal with strong connection. I would like to see Prince Andrew face jail time for his association with Jeffrey Epstein, just like I want to see every famous man that showed up at Epstein's parties doing some jail time. Even guys like Bill Clinton. It's just wrong. They need to send a message that that's not acceptable. I mean, I've been watching the Rockstar Cheer thing because of the allegations that are very similar to some of the ones that were made towards Larry Nassar. These guys that do this stuff need to be buried under the jailhouse. I'm just going to throw it out there. If you are ever, that happens to you as a child, you never fully recover. I don't care what anybody says. You're always going to carry that in your heart and your soul. So I'm starting to get kind of agitated here with all of that. Kamloops visit by royals debunked by Reuters. Huh. Gingerly, we talked about that a little bit earlier. I have no idea. I don't doubt there are restraining orders against her. Okay, send me the information because she's just done too much stuff. And I'm sure people take out restraining orders against her. Whether they make it from TRO to RO, that's a whole different ballgame. You have to be able to prove that you're being threatened in some way, shape, or form by this person. Supposedly, Marvon McRae's stepfather took out one, supposedly. I don't know. One of these times, I'm a big believer in receipts. You show me receipts and I believe them, okay? I want to see receipts on these ROs. I mean, I like Molly, and Molly does say a lot of right things, but Molly also sometimes grabs the wrong end of the stick and shouts stuff out that she has to turn around and say, oh, I was mistaken about that. I want to see. I want to see. And also, I hear you saying this was a terrible time. It wasn't. It sounds like it was a terrible time. And I think we're about to go into a terrible time. There's just so much going on in the world right now that is not good. And in the U.S., it's really gotten strange. That's why we're here. I want to know if Andrea's ex-husband filed one. That's what I want to know. And I don't doubt that some of the members of her family have had to file them. There's just no way to go around that. There's so much that is so bizarre about the whole Marvon McRae thing that really, she just made everything so much worse. The world has gone crazy. You're exactly right. It has. It has gone crazy, and I'm afraid it's going to get worse. And I don't like talking about negative stuff, but hey, and I was trying to pat myself in the back earlier because I managed to sit an entire day in the car with somebody I don't like because I know what a hypocritical user they are. And I did not go off on them. Now, I did snap at the husband a few times because I tend to misplace aggression when I'm pissed off at somebody. And I can't directly say, hey, I'm pissed off at you and this is why. Do you know where Molly got that info from? No, I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue. Like I said, I really backed off being around last week. I've had to because a lot of times when this stuff starts happening, I start getting agitated and it starts to make me feel bad. So I started actually trying to spend less time online because the asthma's been so wicked lately. And on Saturday, we had to have a come to asthma Jesus talk, my husband and I, because he doesn't get it. He is Mr. Healthy. He's the only person I've ever seen that can live on Pringles and peanut butter and never have health issues. He has the worst diet in the world. I try to sneak vegetables into him, and it's a mug's game. He doesn't understand what it's like to have a chronic illness. And all these years with asthma, when he married me, I told him, I said, I had bad asthma until I was 14. And I can't promise you, and I also had cancer, so I can't promise you we're going to have a smooth, illness-free life. I only had minor things until I hit 44. From 44 to now 62, it has been a bumpy ride because that's when my asthma came back hard. And he has always dealt with things that can be cured easily with surgery or medicines. Shauna, I'm sorry. I'm hoping to make plans to move abroad to Mexico. Currently caring for mom. She's 88. Mexico is a good option. There's as many good places there as there are here, and it's less expensive. Yeah. I envy him too. I'm watching him eat all this crap, and I'm like, why am I eating this sugar-free, high-fiber thing? because I can't eat like that. I'm eating a fraction of what he eats, and I'm fat. I mean, so much of it is just like annoying. So he doesn't understand illnesses that can't be cured. And I keep saying, I don't understand why they can't cure your asthma. And I keep saying, asthma is not curable. I have mast cell. None of that is curable. He finally realized after me talking about it for years that when I start having asthma, I need to stay away from all triggers. I just need to put it down and stay away from everything. Thank you, Aussie Gardner. I don't know. I don't feel too beautiful a day. I just feel like bleh. It is hard to live with because you don't really know. Shauna, I know they want to support, but they have to understand. And he finally started to make sense of it and was like, oh, painting the bedroom in the guest house didn't help you. I was like, well, I only had about a 10% reaction because I wore a respirator, but yes, there was a reaction. So that's a big leap forward in his thinking. And anytime I can help him with his thinking, it's an awesome, awesome friggin' day. I'd be seriously tempted to slap him upside the head. I have a couple times. And God knows yesterday I kind of slapped him upside the head a couple times because he was moaning about how much money I was spending. It's like, jerk, I have to have my medicines. He always fusses about how expensive medicines are. And I try to tell him they're a fraction here of what they were in the States. A fraction. My Lyrica runs me a grand total of maybe $40 a month here. And so many things I'm able to get so much cheaper here than I mean, even with copays that I could in the States. So he just needs to shut up. And I told him that before. He knows that. But when you're super healthy all the time and you don't take any medications, he's going to be 71 in a few days. He takes nothing but acetaminophen in the morning. He takes one to keep down his arthritic pain. Lyrica is quite expensive in the States. I found that the hard way when I ran out of it in the States, and I found out it was a controlled substance in the U.S. I had no idea because it's not a controlled substance here. You just walk in the pharmacia, say, Lyrica, por favor. And you can buy it here. It's over the counter. Over the counter. Everything here is over the counter except for any type of narcotics or like Xanax, that sort of thing. My mom's copay for her Entresto is $438.47. Yeah. When I was on Xolair injections, I sat down and figured out one time the retail on it was about $6,000 a month, and I was about $1,000 a month out of pocket. It was expensive. I know it's crazy. They took me off it because it was damaging my eyesight. Oh, I don't have that. I just get the swollen feet and the drool. Oh, so it's pretty crazy. It helps so much. You pay $6 for a script, because I have a chronic illness. Oh, see, you lucky devil. Oh my goodness. And I was happy when I got here where I could just buy 1 or 2 vials of an asthma med to try rather than having to invest in buying a whole box and then go back to the doctor and say, well, back to the drawing board. That did not work. Let's try this other one. Here, when I got here and they didn't carry the one that I use, I said, give me 2 vials of everything you got. And they loaded up a bag for me with 2 vials of everything. And I tried everything and I figured out what I needed for my asthma here. Healthcare in Australia is great. I know my father tried to move my family to Australia when I was a child, and my mother stood in the way of that. And my husband and I, we did look at moving to Australia, but the amount of money we would have to come up to be a legal resident was pretty crazy. It was just crazy. And I would love to be there. I have friends there. I had my almost stepfather living there too, a guy living in Melbourne, I think it is, that was after my mother hard for a while. So I can see, so many of us, our ancestors came from the old country, whatever the old country was, to the US. And now people are moving out for many of the same reasons, for cost of living, to be able to afford health care, for so many things. We don't have to pay to go to the hospital. Oh, I would love that. I do have to pay here sometimes at the hospital. I had a silent UTI. I didn't even know I had it. I popped a fever of 104, 105 degrees around there. And my heart started doing crazy things. I stopped being able to pull oxygen out of the air. And the next thing I know, I'm being hurtled in an ambulance to Liberia, where I had to pay 100% out of pocket, a private hospital, around about $4,000, which wasn't too bad considering I was there the better part of a week and got all kinds of treatment. And I'm still waiting to be reimbursed because um, my U.S. insurer is not good about reimbursing me in a timely fashion. Yesterday, that was one of the reasons I had to go to Liberia. I had to see if I could get a printout of my stay there in dollars instead of in colones, which I had colones before, and I submitted it to them. I figured out what the daily rate of the colonie was the days that I paid the thing, and Blue Cross still rejected it. So now I have it in dollars, and I'm hoping they're not going to reject dollars. Wow, I had that happen to me too over an UTI. I spent 30 days on. Oh, Shauna, that's terrible. They wanted her, but I was giving them some hell in the hospital. I wasn't a very nice patient, and I wanted to go home. They tried to pull me off my Lyrica, and I started having seizures. So it wasn't good. The hospital stay was not good. And the hospital itself was kind of janky. Janky, janky. And when you get older, the silent UTI, man, that was something that came out of left field. Sean, I don't know if it was for that for you, but it was for me. I never expected that. Get a bladder infection, get a UTI, get some pain, get some antibiotics. That's the way it used to be. And I never even had very many of them until this happened. And this was crazy. And I was on antibiotics for the better part of 4 or 5 months, including going and getting injections, going and getting IV antibiotics many times at the infusion center. Just was just not a good thing. You are very lucky in Australia. And that's one of the things that I am very funny about. Healthcare should be a fundamental right, not a privilege. And once we finish our residency paperwork here, we'll be able to get on the CAHA system and go to the CAHA hospitals for free if that's what we should do. But most people here pay and private hospitals. So I probably still will do that even after we become residents because we have health insurance that pays pretty well for that. It just takes a while to get reimbursed. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and go. I'm waiting for my husband. We got to go back to the bank and sign more paperwork. We're rolling over a lot of investments here and doing some other stuff. We're busy. We're coming up on the big celebration of independence here. So, same, Aussie. So good hearing from all of you guys. And it's funny because we're all processing these different things that are happening. The world is in a crazy state of flux. I can't wait to see what happens next, even though I fear some of it. Thank you. Send me that because I know that there's some things about the royal family that Charles needs to do away with and or repent from. That may well be one of them. Who knows? Okay, have a great day. Try not to get in drama. Try not to talk to people who are dramatic. I'm just like, bless your heart. Okay, and he's pulling up now, so we got to go to the bank. We'll see you guys later.